Welcome to the Author's Corner. This is a special edition of the Author's Corner from the Own It magazine, as featured in Own It magazine. My name is Marissa Bloedoorn. I am your host tonight, and our special guest is Cherokee Grey. She is in the house. She is a writer from the Mid-East, residing in Atlanta, Georgia. Growing up, she had a passion for poetry and people, infatuated with love and conversation. Her public debut, called The Nefarious Triangle of Love, was released in 2022. Her style of writing is narrative, writing books from a narrative point of view, favoring fictional stories that are relevant to us all. Either you or someone you know can relate to trials and tribulations with loving others, family, friends, and lovers. Believe in the life that life is a journey, and we all have experienced a love story that will be with us forever, that we will never forget. In addition, she is a certified master life and relationship coach, guiding others regarding life, love, relationships, as well as life experiences. Taking center stage and owning it with me, without further ado, is Cherokee Grey. She is in the house.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
Welcome. This is a special edition of the Author's Corner, and I'm super excited. We normally go live on Tuesdays, but we needed to get this author in front of you. So, talk to us a little bit about your writing experience. Say hello to our audience. Talk to us about your recently debuted book, and tell us, what are you incognito?
All right. So, first and foremost, thank you for allowing me to be here today. It is definitely an honor. I loved your intro, it was simply fabulous. So, thank you. To everyone, thank you all for taking this opportunity to learn about Cherokee Grey. So, again, I've been writing really all my life. I loved books, reading, writing, but I started out writing poetry. And the funny story is how I started writing books is I work in corporate America, and I had a procedure, and I was bored. I was like, oh my God, I'm
Mm,
tired of TV. I can't watch anymore. I've got to do something else. And ironically, I just started writing. And one page turned into 50, 50 turned into 200, 200 turned into 500. So it was just an opportunity to just express what we all go through. We all have relationships or situations where we're like, man, is this happening to anyone else, or is it just me? But,
right.
I wanted to write about the things that we all experience or go through, that we're afraid to tell someone, or, when we think we're the only ones. I wanted to put that platform out. So definitely writing as a narrator, telling the story, not allowing them to tell it themselves, but telling it for them, and just, giving people a voice is what I
Right.
wanted to do.
I love that. I love that you use the narrative approach. That's fun. I mean, that has to be fun for
Yes.
you. Before we jump into that technique of writing, and that method of writing, let's talk about that, because you're talking about, because I can remember I was sharing with someone, I think earlier today, or within the recent future, the last few days, that, in high school, I wrote poetry. I really loved writing poetry, but it just didn't stick with me to continue writing in that capacity.
Mhm.
And I love that you did that. I love that you, because we are expressive when we unleash ourselves. We are very expressive, and poetry is one of the ways that you can begin. To start your writing journey, it's almost like journaling, right? So poetry is kind of like, if you get a rhythm to it, it's really kind of like journaling what you're going through. And so I mean, 50 pages, and then that's how you know you're a writer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was an experience, and I didn't even realize until I just looked down on day two, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm already at 250 pages. Like, what's going on? But it was just pouring out of me, and it was fun. So, again, we all go through something, and they're fictional stories, making up, but it's something that I can relate to, or someone else, or, you just add all these things together, and it comes up, and it was just a great story in my mind. And you let a few people read it to make sure, hey, am I crazy? Am I tooting my own horn too early? Or, is this really something good? So I had a wonderful editor who was like, hey, this is something. You got some, girl. Let's put this, together. So literally it took me I would say in a week I wrote 2 books. And
And I'm not, and you're speaking to someone who's written 12.
oh
So
my
you're
word.
not speaking to someone who does not get it. I get it. It's like,
Yes,
so what I try to explain to people is get it for yourself, because what
absolutely.
happens is when you allow yourself, you uncork
Yes,
it. And once you uncork it, once you are set
that's
free,
it.
when the river flows.
Right. It just, like I said, it just pours out of you. You know, and you don't know, like, okay, I gotta stop. It's 10 o'clock. You know, I've been sitting there writing in that week and I'm like, oh my God, it's midnight, but I'm not sleepy, but I'm sleepy, but I gotta go to bed. But again, I couldn't work, and I had all this free time, and I was like, if I watch another Lifetime movie, shout out to Lifetime though. I'm like, if I watch another one when I can make my own, that's what this is gonna be. And it was just a wonderful. It literally was. I'm like, this is going to be, my outlet. But again, I loved it. It was the energy, it was the creativity, the feeling that it gave me. It was just life. I just loved it. And as I told you before, I was like, oh my God, I got to figure out my niche, what I want to do. And this is one of them. I have many, but this is one of them. I love to write, and be an inspiration to someone, or to just be that vessel. Like, you need someone to relate to understand you. And we all have that one. But, if you're shy, this book, if you've been through something with a mate, this is the book for you. It's all about
I love
experience.
it.
Am I giving up too soon? Am I doing the right thing? It's got all of that good stuff in there.
And so I had a chance to watch you and Angela. Angela viewed you. And hey, Angela. And Angela put the tag up. For
Mhm.
those of you who are viewing, check out the thread, because if you're interested in purchasing Cherokee Gray's book, please do so. The link has already been dropped by Angela Lewis, and she dropped it in the chat, so you can, in the thread, so you can go click, get the book, get the book. I mean,
Indeed.
um, enough of Lifetime.
Right.
You need a different scenario. Like, you need something that's different than what you're seeing on TV, and then also get connected. The one thing I love about writing and having a physical book is that you can escape. You don't. It's one thing for you to have it. For those people who love their tablets, God bless you. I like a book in my hand so that I could flip through the pages,
Yeah.
and really absorb it. And so, talk to me, because I didn't get a chance to see the book in advance. Tell us about the book. Is it one story? Is it a collaboration of stories, or?
No, so the Nefarious Triangle of Love is a story. However, I'll give you a little hint. There is a part 2 coming soon.
All
Um,
right, now.
that's right. Feed you in, feed you in. But it is definitely a book about a young woman who is just living life. She's focused on work and school, and she's just well grounded, and she has a good foundation. She's been through a little bit. So she's like, oh, let me focus on school. And she meets that one. And it's like, oh my God, he's handsome. Okay, not worry about it. But then life just starts to change, and she gets to know him, and she goes through a little something. I don't want to give too much away, but she goes through a little something. And most of us sometimes we're like, oh, this is too much. But then you have some of us who want to give opportunities. So she just
Right.
learns how to deal with loving and struggling, and should I give up, should I stay? And she just felt like she was playing chess and checkers with her life. And it became, it's a story that you definitely want to
Mm,
read, because we've all been there, whether it's a relationship with your spouse, friend, whomever, family. We all go through something like, you know what, I think it's time to cut this person off. Like, is it really?
right.
That's what she goes through.
Right, right. You are so right about that. And I like what you said in your interview with Angela, how you shared about giving something time instead of just,
Mhm.
you had mentioned, and I forget what Angela asked you, but that is what struck with me was we cut off relationships too fast, I believe. Especially
Yes.
when we're older and single. I've
Mhm.
sat back and I've listened to women and men. And I've even had the experience too of meeting someone online, having a conversation with him offline. So he asked
Mhm.
me for my number. I was comfortable with giving him my number. And I can remember, and I just sat and listened to him.
Mm.
And he said to me, he says, well, I'm looking for someone who's financially independent because I plan on retiring. And it was this whole I mean,
Yes,
first,
no.
first conversation, first conversation that we had offline. And that's what
Mm.
you want to go into before you even get to even know the person. And so when you said that, I was just like, wow, she's so right, because you
Mhm.
don't know who you're dealing with until you spend enough time and invest a little time into the relationship. So share a little bit about why you responded to Angela that way. When you said give it a little time.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for even thinking of that because that's powerful to me. I just feel like there is a culture people like to assume that as people of minority, we're quick to divorce, quick to leave, quick to have babies and do all these different things. But in actuality, that's people in general. It's not cultural, it's people.
Hmm.
And when you get into a relationship or a situation, and again, family, friends, lover, whatever it is, the moment we get upset, we want to cut ties. And it's because we are emotional about that person, about the situation. And we're always, at some point, we're going to get our feelings hurt. We're going to be upset. But if you truly love someone the way that you tell them or you feel that you do, cutting them off is not the best thing. You want to give them an opportunity because, again, not to sound holier than thou, but how many times has God given you for some of the things that
I
you have
know.
done? Open door, closed door, he's giving you opportunity. He's forgiven you. So you have to give other people that same respect because, again, we are not perfect. We are human and we're going to make mistakes. But the key is communication. Talk to that person. Hey, you hurt my feelings. Oh, you made me a little upset. Or, hey, I don't like how this planned out. Let's talk about it. Because when you talk about it, that person may not realize, hey, I offended Marissa or I
Yeah.
offended Cherokee or I hurt her feelings. They don't know. Our perception is reality. So if we perceive that you are negative or whatever, that's how we're going to take it. And we break relationships like that. So it's definitely important to give people the opportunity to right a wrong or understand how they have, altered you. Because
Hmm.
again, it's an altering situation when you become emotional. Your feelings hurt, you get sad, you get angry, all these emotions all in one when you can really just sit down and talk to someone and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I think, this is, how I interpreted the conversation. Am I correct? Am I wrong? And when you get to those deep conversations, that's when you learn how to love and have a relationship with that person because you take that time to understand them, but they're also doing the same thing. You're not focused on being right and having the right answer. You're focused on coming to a medium and understanding that person and the situation at hand.
And appreciating and valuing
Absolutely.
why do they feel this way, so that
Absolutely.
it's not just a passe, okay, can we get through this conversation because you are just so emotional. You really
Hmm.
have to have a desire to love the person,
Right.
and to love to make sure that they are emotionally healthy. I
Right.
think that that's what's missing in the relationship. Communication is critical.
Yes.
However, love inside the communication, inside
Yes.
the content and exchange is critically important as well. Don't do it mechanically. Do it
Right.
because you really, really care and you really want to make sure your mate, your partner, your friend are
Hmm.
really taken care of emotionally by you.
Absolutely.
They can take care, we can all take care of ourselves emotionally. There's nothing like having your loved ones care enough of you authentically to take the time to
Yes.
get to know you and how you function and operate. Maybe if we did a little bit more of that, we wouldn't
Hmm.
have so many people walking around depressed and feeling lonely. I think
Absolutely.
that's so,
Absolutely.
I think that
I
that's so
agree with
important.
that.
And so, share with us again. The name of the book is.
It is called The Nefarious Triangle of Love. And again, it's just a good story. It's something that we, again, if you haven't been through everything in this book, you've been through at least one thing, or you felt how she feels about this gentleman and some of the other things that come into play. And I'll refer back to my interview with Miss Angela, the queen herself. She said, you mentioned triangle. In triangle, that does mean three. So not only did she have
and you know what? It's so funny because I was getting to that as well, because I noticed that. Okay, I already knew that. I was like, what? Okay, so now we getting all mysterious and let me say it, freaky. And so so talk about the triangle.
That I will say this, it means three. So in some way, fashion, or form, there is a third party that comes into this entanglement and makes it a little bit more than what it truly is. So again, you've been in a situation where there's been a conflict, or a person that really shouldn't be in your business, but they in your business.
Right.
That's what this is. So it is definitely a triangle, because there is
Wow.
love that is there, and it definitely complicates the situation.
And it does. When you talk about a trio instead of a instead of a duo, when you talk about a trio in any shape or form, whether it's someone that's a friend of one of the partners,
Absolutely.
injecting some information that could, put the relationship at risk, or you have
Yes.
a third lover. Whether that
Mhm.
lovers, I know that people have entered into triangle physical relationships, and you
Mhm.
go into that, and like I said, I listened to your interview last week with Angela. You go into that, but there's a lot of that you can't control when it comes to the trio part. That third party you cannot control. That is
Mhm.
a variable that you have no control over. The lovers can have control over what they want to share or whatever, to a degree,
Mhm.
as they're protecting each other. But if you got that third party in
Huh.
there, you have no control over what they go out to the public and say and do, and all this other stuff. So you run the risk of having your pleasure, but then you have no idea if that becomes something that is so devastating to you personally.
Mhm.
You know. So,
Absolutely. It's
mhm.
there. It happens. And in this situation, it's not a pleasurable situation. It's like you trying your life with me today kind of situation. She
Yes.
just keeps butting, people keep butting in. And that's the thing. We all have that. You have a relationship and someone else, just butts into your situation, or doesn't want to see you happy, or want something that
Mhm.
you can't have. We've been through it, and it's not fun. So again, I wanted to write about it because it does happen, and people think, oh, I'm by myself in this, and I'm just this emotional wreck, or I can't handle it. And you can, and you will. It's just patience, communication, and loving the right way. You
In the
mentioned
right way.
someone said, oh, I want to retire, I want this. Don't go into a relationship saying, I want to retire, I want a new car, I want this and that. You don't know how many situations that you have probably blown off or messed up because you came in there with the wrong intentions. Because when you love someone, in my opinion, yes, we want stability, but have stability on your own. Don't look for someone to come in there and just take care of you. You want someone who's going to add value, and that value may not be financial. It could be mental, it could be physical, it could be spiritual. And for anything else, I want someone who's spiritual. So when I
Right.
choose, I have to choose right. I want someone who's right, because I am the company that I keep to other people. So if you
Right.
hang out with these people who are money hungry, and if that's your thing, no judgment. That's not my thing. But when you hang out with these individuals who want something in life that you're really not on that same path, you start to kind of alter who you are. And I just
Yes,
can't
you
give
do.
people power. And that's what I call it. I call it power. You can't have power over me to make me angry, to change my mindset, to change who I am. My opinions and are mine. And I am who I am. And I don't want someone to come in there and try to change who I am as a person. And relationships tend to do that. So if you don't choose wisely, you end up in a triangle or a situation that you may not be mentally or physically prepared for, and it can get ugly.
And it can get ugly. And you're so right. That we need to get Tyler Perry connected with you so the book can become a
Right. Shout out
movie.
Tyler Perry. I'm writing.
We need the book to become a movie. Especially with Lifetime and all of that other stuff. Why not have
That's
some of us
right.
up there? because predominantly Lifetime is Caucasian. It's not African American. And sometimes we need to have our own stories up there so that we can see our own reflection and
Oh,
connect
yes.
more deeply, and to see some resolution. So,
Mhm.
you got to get the book, people. I don't want her to talk about how the story goes or anything like that. But you want to get to it. But before we close out, I want to talk about your master life certification as a coach,
Mhm.
and a relationship coach, and talk to the audience about, why did you decide to do this? And what's the need of it, and how if someone's interested in working with you, hearing what you've already said of your groundedness and your approach to relationships and understanding relationships, how they can work with you.
Absolutely. So thank you for this opportunity. Definitely how I got into it is, as I said before, I love conversation. I love clarity. If I don't have clarity, it's a whole situation for me. And I just feel that sometimes we fail to provide our voice in situations. And again, it's not always with your mate, it could be with your family, your friends. And the importance was I had a struggle with my own relationships, whether it was a spouse or a friend. And for me, I would just shut down because I don't like confrontation. And I had to
Mm,
learn, I had counseling myself, and I'm like, okay, hey. So I had to grow and understand the importance of communication and listening and trying to be
mm,
understanding and viewing things the way other people view them. Because in my mind, it went A, B, C, D. But in your
right.
mind, it went D, C, B, A. And again, you're not wrong. That's your perception. So a lot of times when we have relationships, and again, any type of relationship, we're not always on the same page. And
Yes.
all the education I went through for myself, I learned a lot about people. And there was so many misconceptions about, cultural, African American or people of minority, we don't do this well or we don't do that. And I'm like, we do. The most important thing is that we have to understand it. And I wanted to give people opportunity to build on their relationships, to understand where they're falling short. Because some of us have been in a relationship where we're like, hey, you know what? I love this person, but it's not working out. I'm ready to walk away. But are you? Are you
Mm-mm.
really ready to walk away? Or do you want to understand why you're going through this, or why this person does this or that you don't like, and understand what those boundaries are, understand what drives them, what angers them, and allow them to do the same. So it was important for me to educate myself on doing that, not only for myself, but when I learned it, it was like, oh my God, I want to share this knowledge. I want to help people build relationships and not tear them down. And I have this thing where I love, if you look at older people, and I'm talking before maybe 60s, 70s, my parents, they finished each other's conversations. They know
Mm.
what the other is thinking. That is deep. That
Yes,
resonates
that
with
is,
me.
girl.
And I love it because it's a connection. It's a connection that is powerful. When you have someone who loves you, but not only loves you, they know you. They know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and they can just add value to your life. Oh my gosh. They're
Yes.
not tearing you down for being different. They're not, they're trying to understand you. And once they do, you have this love that just exists beyond anyone else. And it's just amazing. So I wanted to be able to bring that out in people. So I definitely spent a lot of time educating myself, getting degrees, getting certifications and diplomas for relationship, because I wanted to be able to coach someone, but not only coach them, but coach them right, to give them, like I said, a voice, to know why it's important to understand your mate and understand the relationship that you're in. Because once you take that little bit of time to understand, the listening becomes so much easier.
Yes. Yes. What you're talking about is authenticity. It's
Absolutely.
it's it's real. It's not
Mhm.
conjured up. It's not
Mhm.
forced. It's
Mhm.
and it's a longing for. So, you know, when people can finish one another's conversation, they genuinely love each other and they're not
Absolutely.
worried about what people think. And I think today we have so many people that are worried about being vulnerable or looking
Mhm.
vulnerable. And that's what love really is. It's about vulnerability. It's about being vulnerable in a safe space because you know the person truly or truly loves you. So you're not
Mhm.
worried about what anybody thinks. When you're operating in true love, you are not worried about what anybody thinks. You want to
Mhm.
protect the one that you love. Good evening, Regina. Thank you for chiming in. You want to protect the one that you love. So when you're listening, you're not listening out of obligation. You're listening out of
Right.
true love. You truly love the person and you want to make sure that you are doing right by them. That's true love. And we have gotten
Mhm.
so fake, fraud, and phony that we don't even know what real love is because
Right.
we're not real enough with our own selves.
Absolutely.
And that's where the problem is. Stop faking it, stop wearing
Mhm.
the mask, stop pretending. And the minute that you become real with yourself, you can
Mhm.
love people organically, naturally.
Mhm.
You want to know what makes them tick, you want to know what ticks them
Mhm.
off, and you want to make sure that you are the one putting a smile on their face, not a frown. You want to turn that frown upside down.
Upside
And you
down.
want to
I'm with
listen
you.
to so that's what I want. And if listen, I want a Clyde to my Bonnie. If I can't
Okay.
find Clyde, I don't want him.
So,
I
so we not rolling if you not Clyde, okay?
want to ride or die. That
Absolutely.
really gets to know me. And when the
Mhm.
guy said those things to me, I said, I just listened because I was cracking up. I was in my car and I was laughing to myself and I was saying to myself, this dude is clueless. I mean, he's clueless, and all I could do was let him finish. And I said, oh, okay, well, thank you so very much.
Right.
And bye. I mean, because,
Absolutely.
you have to know your worth. And just like you said, if you build a relationship on things, God forbid that money, that status gets taken away, your
Mhm.
relationship is gone because it's built on
Absolutely.
sinking sand, right?
I love that. That is true, and that's why I love. I told Angela this as well. Is I love the religions where, and again, I'm not judging, but I absolutely love this, where you don't get to pick your mate. Your mate is chosen for you. And why
Mm,
that's so important to me is those individuals learn to love something inside of that person or something about that person, and it's not physical. Because
right,
in 50 years, I'm not going to look like this. You're not going to look how you are. Things are going to change. Whether
yeah,
smaller, they expand, you get a wrinkle or two, you are going to change. So when you decide to say, hey, I'm going to give you some time, I'm going to, invest in you and us, you want to make sure that person is content with you changing physically
right,
because we
right.
are going to change. And again, I wanted to touch on something you said earlier that was powerful. You said a safe space when
Yes,
communicating. I just want to go back to that. A lot of people don't understand you are safe talking to your spouse or your friend or your family, the ones that you can trust. You should have a safe space with those individuals. And if you know that you can't have a safe space with those people, those are the people that you need to kind of treat them with a long-handed spoon because you can't confide in everyone, but you
right.
definitely want to confide in the ones that confide in you and love you, genuinely love you for who you are, because that's important,
Mm,
But again, until you know who you are and accept yourself, no one else is going to do the same thing. So you're able to have those situations where you say, hey, I'm going to invest in this individual because I think there's something there. Or, hey, you know what? What'd you say? Oh, retirement. And we just talk in 2 days. You are not the cat for me. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you learn to move on. But again, when you know yourself, you know what your standards are, you know what your expectations are, and you're able to clearly speak with people about that so you can have a safe zone. So there definitely should be a safe zone when you're communicating with people that you love. Otherwise, there are limitations on your friendship or your situation. And you definitely want, to have a relationship where there are no limits. I should be able to talk to you. If you're my friend, I want to talk to you about any and everything. And I want to feel safe doing it. No one's going to know my business, come tell me about my business. That just causes so much conflict. And it happens in relationships too, where we confide in other people or a family and they remember it, but you've moved on and it's just drama. So you always want to make sure you have a safe space. So I just wanted to touch on that because that was an eye opener. Safe space.
It is, and it has to be a safe place. And we have to teach about safe spaces. So we don't really, that's not the norm. So in therapy or coaching, we understand that it's true because we're trained in it but safe spaces have to be taught to the everyday person about how I need to be able to feel vulnerable here. And you can teach your spouse that. You could teach your lover that. And you could teach your friends that. And the more that we teach people about not only these terms, but the vitality of it, how it's so important to make sure, understand you are safe. It's a non-judgmental zone. It's a listening, not response zone. I'm just here to listen and hear you out because we can go into that. We go into that because I'm getting ready to go in, and I just want folks to know because I am. That is the behavioral analyst in me. It's like, let's go in and let's teach them, but we need to talk more about safe spaces, especially when we're talking about people who are having mental health and wellness challenges, people who are suffering from depression. We have to have safe spaces for them to truly, authentically express themselves without you saying something back to them. You do not have to say anything in response. Sometimes you just need to be a listener. Don't have to respond and solve everybody's problems. That's not what we're here to do. Sometimes we really have to, and that's what's the beauty about coaching is we're not here to solve your problem. We're here to help you get to the clarity so that you know how to solve the problem yourself. And so I want them to know the book again, Cherokee Grey is
Nefarious Triangle of Love.
And you can get it on her website. They can get it on your website, correct?
Yes, there, Amazon. I think Miss Angela posted the link in there, so it is definitely available. And I will add this: it is for adults. Okay, and I'll leave that there.
Very good. Well, hey, if it's a lifestyle there, okay. If it's on the level of Lifetime, we know it needs to be an adult book.
Absolutely. But I definitely want to plug that in there. Definitely not. You don't buy it for your kid, or definitely buy it for someone or yourself who you love to read and you like different things. So it's not just this lustful book. But it does tell a story, and there are some adult things in there, but it is definitely a page turner. And I believe that everyone will love it if they take the opportunity to purchase the book.
Yeah, and so check her out. Check out Cherokee Grey at www.cherokeegrey.com. Just Angela did drop it in the comments, but it has been going across the ticker below us all night long during this whole interview. So make sure that you reach out to her, let her know that you saw her on the Own It platform, Own It Magazine and Publishing. Let her know that you've seen her here. This is on the YouTube channel, so you can follow Own It Publishing on YouTube. Just put in my name, put in the Own It, and we'll come right up and follow us there and get connected with Cherokee Grey. Let her know that you are interested in working with her in some capacity, or that you just want to purchase her book. And when you purchase your book from her website, I'm pretty sure they can get a signed copy, correct?
They can indeed. They definitely can.
Listen, that's the difference between going to Amazon or going to the author directly. You want a signed copy.
Absolutely. A beautiful signed copy. Your own book that you will cherish and read it and await for April. You might see something great coming out in April if you like part 1.
Yes. Oh, awesome. So we are so excited. So any closing remarks?
Again, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, Angela, for posting all of the great details about Cherokee Grey in there. And you can definitely find me on all platforms at author_Cherokee Grey. And if you need a daily inspiration or a vitamin, please know that I post every morning something that will enlighten you any way, shape, or form. It's always something different, whether it's relationships, knowing yourself, loving yourself, understanding things. There's always something great on the platform every day.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so very much for taking center stage and owning it with us this evening. This was a special interview, special time for the Author's Corner as featured in Own It magazine. We are out. Have an amazing, incredible week, people. We love you.